Hey, it's Luke from Mix and Made Simple, and before we get started, go ahead and take a listen to this track that I've been working on for a few weeks and pay attention to the quality of the mix. Okay, so this is a track I've been working on, like I said, for a few weeks, so it's not completely finished yet, but as you can hear, it is a pretty good quality mix. It holds its own against pro references, and I'm pretty proud of it, and it's sounding really good so far. And the reason I'm making this video is because I think it's really easy to fall into the trap thinking that there is only one thing that's holding you back from getting good mixes, or that if you just implement this one trick or magic pill, it's suddenly going to make your mixes sound way better. And you see this quite a bit, and I understand why. I mean, these videos, they get clicks and views, but I'll see titles like, do this one trick to make your track pop. And, those tricks do help and they are useful. And I definitely make a lot of videos talking about one topic, but the point is that it's really not one thing that makes an EDM production sound awesome. It's more like 1,000 little things, little decisions that add up over time to really make something really good. I'm going to walk through this project file in a second, but I want to talk about a few different ideas and things that will really help you to get to that next level before I do that. This is going to be a bit of a longer video, but make sure you watch all the way to the end because it's really going to be packed full of helpful information and some insight that's really going to help you on your journey to making professional sounding EDM. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is how important your playback system is when producing and mixing and mastering. And it doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money, but you need to know how to spend your money or what to purchase in order to really be able to hear what you're mixing. And so for me, I've got some really nice Neumann monitor speakers and a sub, and it allows me to really hear everything, and I can hear the bass really well, and it just makes mixing and mastering and producing a lot easier for me. However, I don't think you need to spend, thousands of dollars to be able to do this. And in fact, for a long time, I used just headphones and I did really well with them. And so my recommendation is if you are a producer and you're on a budget, get a nice pair of headphones, even on the cheaper end, like the Audio-Technica ATH M50Xs or the Sony MDR 7506s. And I'll have a link in the description below for awesome affiliate links for those if you want to check them out. There's also some really great Neumann headphones. And these are all headphones that I've owned over the years. And the reason headphones are so great is because they really allow you to hear the full range, the full frequency range of your music. You can hear most headphones go down to about 10 hertz or like at least 20 hertz. And so you can hear the bass and you can hear the upper frequencies. And depending on which headphones you get, you'll be able to hear, them more and more clearly. And I do recommend getting like a headphone amp. I do think that a headphone amp will take your headphones and adds a little bit more clarity, just that power of a headphone amp. For me, when I've added a headphone amp to my setup in the past, it really made a difference in my headphones. And you can get some cheaper ones for like $100. They kind of go from your audio interface into the headphone amp into your headphones. Just research it, but those really help. And so my recommendation is get some good quality headphones that you can always use to either produce and mix, or at least use as a second reference if you're using speakers. Because if you're using speakers, and let's say you just have like some KRK Rocket 6s and you don't have a sub, you might not be able to hear the bass as well as you think you can. And also, unless you've got some solid acoustic treatment up and you're using like SonarWorks to do some room correction, you're going to have a more difficult time getting a really accurate representation of what you're listening to. I know there's stories of artists in the past like Porter Robinson who produced his EP, one of his first EPs on like Logitech speakers. And stories like that are cool and inspiring, but just because that person did it doesn't mean you need to restrict yourself. And I would say you need to set yourself up for success. Okay, so if you can, you should get good headphones, good speakers, solid acoustic treatment. And I'll have also a free mix training in a free ebook, and I kind of talk about how you should treat your room. You can be pretty cost effective at it, but you know, room treatment, getting sonar works and decent speakers is going to really help you go a long way. It's really important to be able to actually hear everything in your mix. And so what I would say is definitely grab a solid pair of headphones so that you can really hear what you're mixing. Because if you can't hear it, you can have the most advanced spectrum analyzing plugin ever, but if you can't hear it, you can't mix it. Okay, so that's my first advice there. And the next thing, and then we're going to dive into this project and I'll show you what I've done, is that sound selection and then just volume is basically like 80 or 90% of your mix. The vocals I'm using are recorded really well. I didn't have to do much to them at all. And then I just know how to choose the right sounds, like the right kick drum and bass and arrangement. I know how to choose good sounds and arrange my track and sounds in a way where everything sounds good. And that'll get you like 80 to 90% there, you know, plus the volume levels. And so if you kind of think about it as like a pyramid, you're laying this foundation with good sound selection. And then from there, you work your way up and add things like compression, EQ, and all of that, which I'm about to show you in a second. We're going to go through and I'll work my way up. Okay, so that's just really important. And it goes along with what we're talking about in the video. There's not just one thing. It's like 1,000 things that add up to make a great mix. And now that we're going to walk through this project file and I want to show you, okay? So if I go ahead and I turn off, I've got a limiter and I've got the saturator on, and then I've got this utility here. I'm just going to raise up the gain. That way it kind of matches the volume of what we had on the limiter. And now go ahead and take a listen to this mix with no master, with no limiter or anything on it at all. Okay, so go ahead and take a listen to this, just the mix. Now I really want to show you this because as you can hear, the mix by itself sounds really good. If I had played that for you earlier and I told you it was mastered, you'd probably believe me. And that's because having a really good mix before you master is like the most important thing. And I really wanted to show you this as like proof because I think it's easy. I think some people get caught up thinking that there's something wrong with their mastering, or like, I need to master my track. And I've seen people talk about this on Reddit. Oh, it's the mastering part. I'm doing something wrong. And it's like my masters aren't translating in like my car. And I swear it's really all about the mix. I've said this before. I'd rather have a really, really good mix that I slap a limiter on top of versus a bad mix that I send to the best mix or mastering engineer in the world, okay? You can't fix a bad mix with mastering. It's all about the mix. And I just really, really want to make that clear. And so here are my drums. I'll go ahead and solo them. And so there's nothing really special going on. Like I've got, you know, some loops. I got some open hats. Here's a loop that I have. Something I like to do is I like to use transient shapers if I have a loop to kind of make it more tight, like kind of like take away some of the reverb. So if you go ahead and take a listen to this. This is a really cool trick that I learned from Disclosure or watching Disclosure videos, where you can go and you can just add a little attack, but take away sustain, and then you can stack these on top of each other. And it's just really, really nice and useful. And then I've got this snare here. It's kind of loud, whoops. And so that's just kind of moving the track along. It's kind of using this as some transitional type stuff. And I've got my claps, and here you can see what I've done is I have layered the claps, and I have these are panned left and right. So if you take a listen here, and then I got one in the middle. Oh, and that's actually probably too much reverb. I don't know why I have so much reverb in there. I'm gonna go ahead and take that down a little bit. And then I've got this kick, and I've got a really solid kick. And the way you choose kicks, what I found is really helpful is by referencing. Grab a professional reference, listen to their kick, go through, I like to go through Splice and just type kick. And a lot of times if you type kick into Splice, all the best ones, the most used kicks will pop up first. And so using Splice to grab a kick is really, really useful and easy. And I was going to say, I don't even have any parallel compression or anything on this yet. Usually I'll parallel compress everything besides the kick. So I'll do like this, I'll have the kick here, and I'll usually route the kick through just to the master, straight to the master, like the main. And you can see I have this kick sidechain. This is just a ghost kind of kick going on here. And I'm not even really using this. I think I just set this up to show an example on YouTube. And anyway, you can either route the kick out, or you can just take the rest of your percussion elements and you can go like, if I go like this, let's leave those reverse hats. No, whatever. We'll just go ahead and go like this. If I group them all, now I can do like percussion. Well, now I can take these and I can add, and I haven't done that. Usually I do this. I'll put like a glue compressor on here, and I'll either compress everything together, or if you go like this, Control G, and then add a chain. Now I've got parallel compression. I'm not going to dial this in right now because I don't want to take too much time, but I usually do parallel compression to my drums. It really adds some nice aggression, tightens them up a bit, and parallel compression is just really cool. And I've got videos on my channel. Just look up parallel compression on my channel, and you can see videos where I talk about that. Next up is the bass. And so like, as you can see, I haven't even done, the mix is sounding really good, and I haven't done like a lot. What I like to do is I like to layer my basses. So I've got a sub pluck here. You might not be able to hear that. I have a little bit of limiting, because for me, the bass can be just really evened out and limited, and it's just going to make it nice and tight and just sit in the mix really easily. So I like to use some limiting on the basses. And then the reason I have this compressor here is because it's like just adding, I probably didn't even do enough, but I could, it's just adding a little bit of attack as the bass goes through this threshold, because it's a slow attack. It's just adding some attack. And then I've got kickstart here, which is just letting the kick, making sure the kick sub and the bass sub don't interfere with each other. And then if you can see, oh, and this is actually a mistake. This needs to be sidechained. I left that off by mistake. Let's go ahead and just sidechain it to the kick. And I've got it layered. This is like the main bass pluck here. I heard this in one of my reference tracks, this style of bass, and I just really wanted that. And you know, and that's basically it. Here, if we go ahead and okay, and then I've got these just Reese's. Let's go ahead. I layer a Reese with this sub here. I usually, for my sub basses, I usually just use the Nexus basic sine. I've done that forever, and so I guess I just like using the Nexus sine wave because I just know exactly how it sounds, and it works well for me. And so let's go, if I go up here, we'll go ahead into this section right here. It's nothing really special. I've got my, at the very beginning, I've got these plucks, obviously. And so I like to group all the plucks together so I can process them together. I add a little bit, this is like barely any Valhalla shimmer, just to kind of add this like atmosphere. Basically it's parallel processing, so I've got shimmer in the background. And I have it turned down so much that you probably can't even hear it. There we go. I'm going to add actually a little bit more. Now that you're watching me do some mixing as we do this, so. You can barely hear that, but it's adding this like atmosphere in the background. And that's something I really like to do. And then I've got some EQ. I just wanted to go ahead and process all the plucks together, and I wanted to add more high end. I'll actually add a little bit more low end there. And so yeah, got the plucks here, and what I'm doing with each individual one is I'm just like, I've got these frozen because it was taken away from CPU. Usually I pan them. In this case, I think they're just stacked on top of each other. And then I've got some pads down here, and I like to group everything like this because it's really helpful. Okay, and I'll jump over to the pianos really quick because obviously these are a really important part of the track. And so what I have here is, if you go ahead and if I just solo them. Got the Corgam one, obviously. EQing out quite a bit of the lows and kind of this this area right here. Ozone, widening it up a little bit. I put Soothe on there for some reason. I just wanted to take out some of the harshness of the high end again. A little bit of compression, like a slow attack compression to emphasize the attack, of course. I like to do that quite a bit. And I'm layering it with this I typically layer mine with the giant piano, and if you put them together, and then once the drop hits, I added this Nexus piano up here. Because altogether, whoops, it's really just filling it out for that drop. And so that's what I like to do. Actually, it's the first time I've done the Nexus piano thing here, but it worked out really well. It's this ballad grand piano. This has been like, this piano was used a ton back in the day. And it sounds really good. And then on the group level, got some glue compression, gluing it all together and adding that nice, just impactful compression. Some Saturn for some saturation and then kind of, you know, boosting the high end a little bit. This crystallizer thing is really cool. That's that little like delay thing, that reverse delay stuff that's happening is the crystallizer. I don't keep it on the entire track, but I keep it on. It just adds like a nice width and like a cool effect to the pianos, and I really like it. And then of course I've got this. I'm just sidechaining this middle part to the kick because I want these to be prominent. Actually, probably should lower a little bit like that. I don't want to be too much. These are a really prominent part of the mix, and I don't want them to be ducking out a lot. And so that's how I sidechain compress them to kind of duck out. Okay. The last quick thing is on the up here, as I just have this little space maker, which is making the it's ducking out right here when the vocals come in. And so that's pretty much it. Effects, I don't really want to spend any time on these because I don't really do anything to my effects except for volume. Maybe some EQ stuff. Let's see. See, I don't even have like anything. I just group these together and you got this. I do have them side chained. So it sounds like this. To me, like white noise, stuff like that is just like adding energy, excitement, and also, and it's more of like a background thing that it shouldn't be really prominent. It just adds this like energy to the mix, and also I like doing like little reverse sweeps and little like reverse crashes and stuff to add like, you know, stuff like that. I got this build up here, and then you know, let's go ahead and talk about the vocals. And so, like I said before, sound selection, and that's like the most important thing. Well, it's a lot easier to mix a vocal if it just sounds really good, if it's recorded really well. And so if I turn off all this mixing stuff, let's see.
I feel the fire, the flames igniting my veins, chemistry when I'm with you.
It already sounds really good. And now I go ahead and I got a little bit of EQ here. I just barely even doing anything. And then I've got these compressors that I like to stack. This is kind of a stack I like to do quite a bit, where I kind of catch the peaks and then I go into CLA two-way, and then I got some de-essing.
I feel a fire, the flames igniting my veins. Chemistry when I'm with you.
I noticed a little bit of a harshness, and so I just grabbed a Soothe 2 and just
I feel a fire.
put it on the very top end. And I didn't want it doing too much because the thing, you have to be careful with Soothe 2 because you don't want to take away harmonics of something if it makes it sound special. And so like a vocal, for example, if a vocal is recorded on a nice mic, then you shouldn't really have to use Soothe 2. It's more like if you record a vocal on kind of a crappier mic, you're going to have more of those resonances that just don't sound good. And so, but I just felt the need. I felt like I wanted to take away more of that harsher kind of sibilance as well as like the harsher stuff at the top here. And so I just threw Soothe 2 up here.
Feel a fire,
And then I just got some reverb, and that's pretty much it. And then I got it's always good to have multiple takes of the vocal. And so right here, when I just copied and pasted all the effects, but I leave the reverb and stuff off. And then now, if you go ahead and take a listen, if I just solo the vocals.
is it a crime? Want you tonight. Don't be shy, baby, if it feels right. Cross the line or lose my mind if we don't try, baby, cause it feels.
Okay, and so layering vocals like that, I just pan these like left and right, and then same processing, and then they sound really good just like that. Okay, and I don't really want to I don't want to do a playthrough of this whole track because this is a track that I'm going to be sending to record labels soon. I just want to show you a section of it, show you the quality of the mix, show you what it takes to have a mix like this, and it's really not, it's really just the volume levels and everything like that, okay? And so that pretty much sums up this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you're still here and you're an EDM producer who is like just wanting to make professional level music and you're struggling to get that professional sound, I was you, but now I'm not. I know what it's like to struggle with this stuff. I know what it's like to just feel like you're banging your head against the wall, trying every single day to, comparing your track to pro level tracks and just not understanding why my mixes don't sound as good as the pros. It took me many years to get to this point. What I do now is I help EDM producers get to that point much faster. So if that's something you're interested in and you like my teaching style, go ahead and look in the description below and book a Zoom call with me. We'll see about getting you enrolled in my course and mentorship program called Mix Immersions. I'll tell you more about it on the call, but really I just help you master this stuff as quickly as possible and be able to make professional level music. And so, like I said, check that out. I've also got free mix training down there below, and I'll see you guys again in the next video. All right, see ya.